Joe Hortiz loves draft picks. And there's been a lot of talk about Joe Hortiz trading down from that 5th overall selection in order to get more draft capital. So today, I got my Chargers war room together. I sat down with the director because Joe Hortiz, he's got Chad Alexander too. So I need the director to help me out in these trade down scenarios. So make sure to get a drink, get your favorite snack because we got a long one. There's a lot of good prospect talk, a lot of good trade down talk, and some good film to watch. So make sure to like and subscribe if you do enjoy this content. It helps me out so much. And go subscribe to the director as well if you haven't already. And let's get right into it. I have this first mock draft scenario for you that is the most common, okay? So the Vikings at 11, they want a quarterback. They want JJ McCarthy. Let's say they trade up with the Chargers because the Cardinals want to stay there and pick Marvin Harrison Jr. And all of a sudden, we're in this scenario. We trade 5 for 11 and 23. People are saying that we can get more, but I'm just going to say it's only 11 and 23 because already just those 2 picks, you're overpaying because of that draft chart. If you go with that value there, you do have to take the QB tax into account. I'm just going to go with 11 and 23 here. Okay, director? So don't get mad at me.
Cool with it. Yeah, I think if they give up anything else anyway, it's going to be next year. So we don't even have to worry about it. That's kicking the can down the road.
So who's available at 11? All right. You see this? Brock Bowers is here.
Yeah.
Jer'Zhan Newton. We can go. There's tons of really good defensive players. Who are you looking at, my man at GM?
Well, as we know, me and Michael did a little mock draft on my channel, and things went down a certain way. I think we had a little bit of flavor and variety to things because there are very many different things that could happen in a trade down. Chargers could go, back at wide receiver if they like the talent of like Brian Thomas. They could go offensive line, which is a big thing a lot of Chargers fans suspect in a trade down. They could even go corner early, which is a pretty big position of need for the Chargers. And you're going to see a lot of quality talent in and around the picks of 8 to 15 at the cornerback position. I'm looking at DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell all of a sudden right there. Let's shake things up a little bit.
Okay.
In terms of what we've talked about before, I'm going to go ahead and make the selection, and then I want you to help me feel good about it. Yeah?
Okay. Well, it better be a good selection then.
Let's go ahead and hope that it turns out that way. The Chargers in round 1 pick number 11 after a trade down. Because Brock Bowers is very, very tempting, but let's just imagine for a second that maybe he's not there. Let the Chargers go Taliese Fuaga.
Okay.
Right tackle, Oregon State. Probably one of the best options for the Chargers in building this offensive line in the image of Roman and Jim Harbaugh. Now help me feel good about that selection. Oof.
Taliese Fuaga, nasty player, natural right tackle, so you don't need to move him from left to the right side. Like if we stayed at 5 and took a guy like Joe Alt. In this scenario, I love Brock Bowers. I've been a big advocate of his, but there is a very real possibility that the Jets take Brock Bowers at 10. And so he might not be here. If he wasn't here, then my pick would definitely be Taliese Fuaga because I think of those offensive linemen, Joe Alt is clear number 1, but then it's kind of a flavor thing. Taliese Fuaga, JC Latham, Troy Fautanu. I think it's actually Fautanu is how you correctly pronounce it because Bruce Feldman said that recently. I don't know, maybe that's breaking news. But
Don't look at me. I'm not Islander or anything.
You say what?
Don't look at me. I'm not Islander or anything.
Hey, you should know. And then
I got cousins whose names I can't say, and here we are, on YouTube having to prove it.
It's just up to who the Chargers have higher on their board. I could see Taliese Fuaga. I could see JC Latham, and I could even see Amarius Mims right here at 11 if they value him that highly because that size, man, it's something that Joe Hortiz has proven he likes. Orlando Brown Jr., Mekhi Becton, Chad Alexander drafted him when he was a part of the Jets. But Taliese Fuaga, to me and to you, is the best tackle on the board. That's who we're going to go with. Yep. So I'm happy with that. Amarius Mims went, and see, this is why you pick that tackle early. All of these guys are now off the board. And at 23, the guys that are still available, we can get some interior offensive line help. There's a big drop-off, by the way, in these tackles to Tyler Guyton. Tyler Guyton is really a developmental guy. I wouldn't want to take him in the first 2 rounds, not even in the 3rd round, to be honest with you, just because I think we need someone that can push the offensive line forward in his first year, kind of like Jackson Powers Johnson. What do you think out of these guys on the board? Because there's a lot of good defenders.
There are a lot of good defenders. Kool-Aid McKinstry is a guy that honestly, like him and DeJean, catch my attention right away, because in a trade down, if you don't go corner early, you're probably looking, later in the first round. To me, and maybe with some of the guys still on the board, I love Kyrie Jackson. I'm a huge Mike Sainristil guy. I do want a different flavor in this draft a bit. And there's a guy on the board that maybe the ADP doesn't match up with PFF where people would be taking him. I think in terms of some of these later round guys, or say later first round guys at wide receiver, Adonai Mitchell is a very special prospect. The Chargers are in a really tough spot at receiver, and he's one of those guys. I'm a huge McConkey fan. I know that Michael knows that. But in terms of like an ex-receiver guy that can play, that traditional like wide receiver one role for any team, I think Mitchell is going to be one of the last true talents in the first round that could carry some of that. And so I think to kind of shake things up a little bit, that's the guy I would be going with. I think we can find some solid corner talent in the second and third round. But in terms of these special, first round wide receivers that can carry an offense if need be for the position, it's Mitchell and McConkey for me. And I think Mitchell carries more of that X receiver build that you're looking for.
Yeah, he certainly does. These are two guys that are really good route runners as well. We just lost one of the best route runners in the league in Keenan Allen.
I would say, yeah, you can find some talent later, but not as sure of a thing as Mitchell brings.
Let's do it. Yeah. Adonai Mitchell at 23. And then that takes us to the second round. Let's speed it up a little here in the second and third round, because we got a couple other mock drafts to go through. What are you looking at right here? What are we missing?
Well, quite honestly, McConkey down here would always grab my attention. We just grabbed receiver, though, so I think we got to look elsewhere. Peyton Wilson's very interesting to me. We're looking for that centerpiece of the defense at that position at linebacker still. He would be awesome, minus the injury concerns. TJ Tampa is, okay, corner's important, and I see a couple of really awesome guys on the board. I don't always see TJ Tampa here. Sometimes you do. And like we said on my show, this is the power of draft position. We have a high first round pick. Guess what? We're going to have a high second round pick. Someone's going to slip. I don't see McConkey in the second round. I don't see TJ Tampa in the second round. But in this instance, you never know. And I think TJ Tampa brings pretty much what you're looking for at corner right now, especially, again, we're talking about the wide receiver group being poor. Corner needs a lot of help as well. And that's a fantastic talent to find at the top of the second round.
I'm all in on TJ Tampa. You don't have to sell me on that one at all.
As far as the outside guys go, he's one of the best you'll find early in the draft.
And now here we are in the third round. A couple of Michigan guys, Junior Colson, Blake Corum. What are you thinking on this one?
It's tempting. I know that you're a big fan, or interior line guys still on the board. Obviously, the Chargers are going to be looking for talent at those positions. The Chargers just grabbing Fuaga too might be able to relieve themselves a little bit in having to grab some early talent there. Blake Fisher's another guy that I love, but again, we already kind of went tackle. We might be looking at him in a different draft. I don't know. There's some exciting names here. For me, again, if we're going to zag a little bit, let's go back up to the top real quick, because there's some guys that I think are pretty like lock in for me if they're available. I really love Sweat, but there's that recent story about him.
Yeah,
that might be a little bit concerning. Colson's an awesome option here if you're trying to build that linebacker position, but let's zag a little bit. I think I see a future, probably the most out of all the running backs. I love Jonathan Brooks a lot, but I get most excited at running back, me personally, and this might kill some people, but this is one of my favorite prospects maybe in the draft at their position, is Trey Benson. I think Benson, to me at least, is going to be a bona fide star out of Florida State. And a lot of people have some reservations. Of course, you want to see a little bit, more in terms of sample size. You want to see a little bit more in terms of, what he is at the next level. But to me, out of all the guys, Jonathan Brooks is very close. He's probably as worthy of a second round pick as any guy in the draft. He's looking at him here. It just makes me feel excited about not just what he can offer now with Gus Edwards, but what he's going to become in the future. He just feels like, I don't know, that Saquon Barkley kind of type of guy that can really run an offense. So for me, Trey Benson, it's a big zag. There's some awesome talent up there. I think like 9 out of 10 times with that available talent, I'm probably going Junior Colson. But Trey Benson just feels like such a home run to me. Again, the ADP doesn't reflect it on PFF, but he's probably my RB1 in this draft.
Okay.
Him and Marshawn Lloyd are grossly undergraded, in my opinion.
I think Trey Benson would fit really well in this offense. So in 3 rounds in that trade down with the Vikings for 11 and 23, we're going to grade the draft. Okay. We got an A-. I would be really happy with this draft. You got your right tackle of the future. You're beefing up the offensive line, beefing up the run game in the 3rd round as well. But also you get 2 premier positions right here, Adonai Mitchell and TJ Tampa. So let's move on to the Giants draft, or the Giants trade down rather. Because in this one, we're only going down 1 spot. Giants are trading up for J.J. McCarthy, and we get pick 107 and 183. That is what the draft trade value chart is basically lining up with for that 5th pick. We're only moving down 1. And in this scenario, Romo Dunze went number 4 to the Cardinals. I cannot believe that. But we have our pick now of Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. Who are you picking in this scenario if you have both guys available?
I mean, you're going to have very, very little time to ask me this question before I'm running up with the name of Marvin Harrison to submit. Like, he's obviously, Neighbors is such an exciting talent this draft. I would be so happy with either one. But I think if you're asking for one of the best floors in terms of generational talent wide receiver, there's very few people ahead in the history of the draft of Marvin Harrison Jr.
And now we still got our guy in a trade down scenario. We didn't even know if he's going to be there at 5. This is like absurd right now. I love this. Who are we taking at pick 37 in the 2nd round? Keep in mind we have that receiver already.
I think if it were me, it's very close between Zach Frazier and a corner. Let's just make believe for a second that TJ Tampa is not there. I think that he's more of a late first round guy. Just to kind of give us a new flavor here, let's go Mike Sainristil. I think he'll be there.
Ooh.
I think we need to go corner. And quite honestly, starting the draft off with Marvin Harrison and Mike Sainristil, who are 2 very realistic things that could happen, the Chargers just quite instantly, in terms of just, I don't know, threat on both sides of the ball, become that much more dangerous.
Yeah, and in this scenario, we're going to have to hit offensive line pretty soon here because this tackle depth, Jordan Morgan is now the best tackle on the board. Let's you said Mike Sainristil, right? Let's go with him.
Yes.
I love the pick of Mike Sainristil too. Really smart player. He's got the ball skills as well. He's a former wide receiver. Now we're in the 3rd round. Got some linebackers.
That's tough. That's tough. What are we looking at as far as offensive line? Blake Fisher's a pretty good value in the 3rd round.
Let's see, OT and interior offensive line. Christian Mahogany. Cedric Van Pran is here. He's a really smart center from Georgia. I like him a lot. Mason McCormick is a nasty guard. Bo Limmer, but it's a little early.
Little early for Limmer. I think right now Blake Fisher's probably going to be the best option for the Chargers at offensive line, still on the board. He's, quite honestly, he gets overshadowed by Joe Alt way too much. This is a fantastic option, especially when you're talking about, like, again, we talked about Trey Pipkins being, that right tackle right now. We don't have to force him to be the guy year 1.
Right.
I think you would honestly be able to climb that. With the guys still available on the board, for me, it would almost like 10 out of 10 times be Edgerrin Cooper. I think that he's the best talent, and he's such a huge talent for what they're trying to find. Colson's also really, really tempting. But offensive line, this is a special class, and I think after these guys, it's going to be a little bit tough to find help. This one's tough. This is probably the toughest one so far. I want to say linebacker, but I also think Blake Fisher's a really good value here. What do you think? Consult me.
I think Blake Fisher, he played right tackle at Notre Dame. We got Marvin Harrison Jr. in this one in that trade down scenario, which is absurd value. And then we got Mike Sainristil. I think, man, I would want an interior lineman here, but if the value is there for that tackle, I'm going to take the best player available that fits my needs.
Blake Fisher, because I think there's some, like, this isn't the craziest linebacker class. So after this, you're kind of wondering, like, who's going to be able to step up. There's still some guys that I think the Chargers could develop.
And this is even a spot we could double dip on corner with Kyrie Jackson play the outside corner, because we got Mike Sainristil going to play inside, going to play him all around the field.
Yeah, that would be an interesting selection too, getting a 6'3" guy on the outside. You got your slot all kind of taken care of. It's interesting. I think let's go Blake Fisher here, though. I think this is a special offensive line class, and he is going to be a monster on the right side after this season. And if anything, he might elevate to starting right tackle, and we'll have a quality, swing and Trey Pipkins for the year.
This is a really good draft. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Mike Sainristil. A little bit early for Mike Sainristil, maybe for some people, but I think he's such a talented player. He's got such a high football IQ. And in Jesse Minter's defense, man, he's a perfect fit. In this trade down scenario, this is the least likely, so I want to spend a little less time on this one. But either the Raiders or the Broncos are still a possible team to trade up. And if the Cardinals want to stick and pick their wide receiver 1, which in this case is Malik Neighbors, then the Raiders or the Broncos, in this case, I'm just going to say it's the Raiders because they have 13, and which is one spot below the Broncos. They're going to have to pay a little more because they have to pay that QB tax. They also have to pay the interdivisional trade tax. So you're giving me the first and the third round next year, along with that number 13 overall pick. And I'm expecting my favorite offensive lineman to be here. And look at, there he is. Here's another really good one. Here's my CB1. We got tons of options right here.
Okay. So the way the board fell is interesting. The whole idea of trading with the Raiders, it is a little dangerous because they're probably going to go get their QB1 of the future. And it's something that we'll see, right? I think Harbaugh would probably be pulling his eyebrows out having to face his beloved JJ McCarthy twice a year.
Yeah.
However, it's something that might happen. I think we would really have to take him to town, though. Like, give me the first, give me the third, give me Max Crosby. Like, you got to give me something crazy to consider a trade with them. However, it is a possibility. With the talent still on the board, I think Fuaga to me would still be the pick, but let's zig a little bit. Let's have some fun. Let's go Byron Murphy.
I already knew it.
Let's do it. Let's go Byron friggin' Murphy, dude. The best defensive lineman in this draft. The Chargers. Woo! You imagine, dude? You got Murphy, you got Mack, you got Bosa, you got Cooley. Like, sorry, JJ, you're gonna spend most of the season on your back, buddy. That's a disgusting defensive line, dude. Disgusting.
So now we could beef up this interior on the offense and the defense because Zach Frazier is here as well in the second round.
I actually kind of like that. Let's go trenches on both sides. It feels very Harbaugh, and those are two huge difference makers on both sides of the ball. Let's be honest. What did he say at that press conference about the offensive line and their effect?
It affects every position group on the field. The offensive line is the most important position group because if you're on the defense, you're getting rest with the offense out there. And the offense, they need to block for the run game. They need to block for the passing game to give your quarterback time to throw the ball. If you extend drives, it helps the defense. It helps you in the field position with special teams. It helps everything.
And that's, I think, a great philosophy to live by. And the defensive line could almost be viewed the same way. If they make any impact, right, on that line, it's going to affect, the opportunities for the linebackers, corners, safeties to make a play. So I think going trenches back to back, actually kind of cool. And it's one that I've not seen a lot of mocks with yet.
And now we're in a position where we need a wide receiver and we need a cornerback. And man, it's not looking good right now.
Yeah. We're going to have to be picking a little bit in terms of
I do like Renardo Green.
Development. Renardo Green is exciting. I do like him. In terms of receiver, I like Brendan Rice a lot too. Johnny Wilson's kind of a project. Baker is one I think a lot of people are sleeping on. McMilan is not a bad option. I think in terms of what we're looking for at receiver, now that like the cream of the crop has come off the board, I think we can find similar talent just a little bit later. So I'm kind of turning my attention to the corners right now.
Malik Washington is still on the board. We could get him in the fourth round, but we're not going to go to the fourth.
Slots.
Yeah.
And honestly, again, in this system, you can turn a slot receiver into like a pretty nasty weapon, in combination with what they want to do in the run. Phillips is exciting. Green is exciting. It's a little high for Green, but he might be my favorite still out there. Mm-hmm. But it is high. It is high. What do you think?
I like Renardo Green's physicality. I think that's what they want at the cornerback position on outside corner. Jerry Jones is more of a slot guy.
Jones would be great in the slot. And he's a value. I think we can find him in the third. Green is a bit of a reach, but I think at this point you're kind of looking for that play on the outside. It's going to become very desperate the later we wait down the board at corner. So yeah, I'm good with that if we wanted to go corner right now.
I kind of would prefer a receiver, honestly.
McMillan, Walker. Yeah. I'm a huge on Baker. Wilson, if you can find a way to get some freaking stick him on those gloves, he'd be an X Factor kind of guy. He's what, 6'6", 6'7", receiver position. Like it's ridiculous. For me, McMilan and Baker are probably the ones that have my attention at receiver.
I would probably take Jalen McMilan.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. So that's the Raiders trade down. And this is also the scenario where we just went trenches, man.
Yeah.
This is not going to be a popular one for multiple reasons.
I can hear him pounding down my door right now. It's like, we didn't even launch this yet, bro.
Now, here's another one that is really, really interesting. Cardinals trade down from 4 with the Vikings. They get 11 and 23, so they were down here at 11. And then they moved up to 5 so they could take their wide receiver 1, probably Marvin Harrison Jr. And we get 11, but we also get 35. And the reason that I did 35 rather than 23 down here or 27 is because that actually matches the closest with the value of the 5th pick in terms of that trade value chart, which I'm going to use right now because we don't know how the negotiating is going to go with Joe Hortiz yet. So let's take our wide receiver 1. Cardinals are going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. Now here we are at 11. The board fell. Brock Bowers is gone. So now we're in that scenario where Brock Bowers is actually gone. We've got a lot of linemen here. CB1 is something that we should probably be looking at.
I'm Quinyon Mitchell is probably going to be my pick here. Can you scroll down a little bit though?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, there's some guys that have my attention here as well. Well, and our next pick is
35. So 35? That's 3rd in the 2nd round.
Let's go Quinyon Mitchell. I think Quinyon's got to be the pick in this range. I was really thinking about Brian Thomas here. He's not going to go 28. He's going to go top like 15. But I think at this point, the value of Quinyon Mitchell justifies the value you're looking for in a trade down.
35. Adonai Mitchell's here.
Yeah.
So we would be taking 2 premier positions with our first 2 picks. We addressed corner. So we could address receiver with Ladd McConkey, Adonai Mitchell.
I think it would be Mitchell 10 out of 10 times. I don't see him being there. I actually don't see McConkey being there either, but
Xavier
Legette going before McConkey is interesting, and Mitchell.
And Troy Franklin and Xavier Worthy. Wait a minute.
There's no way. There's no way.
Now, in this scenario, we got to take advantage. We have to take this receiver right now.
Yeah, take Mitchell. Take Mitchell.
Okay, and now we can address the trenches. We already got our outside.
Interesting.
Brady Fisk
is interesting, actually, because we already got corner. We got receiver. Hey, let's go trenches again.
Okay.
I want to go center, but like Fisk is also really exciting there. I'll leave it up to you. Either one. Like I think Fisk would be pretty good though. He's one of the last guys I feel like it's going to be a huge difference maker at the defensive line.
I do like Braden Fisk, but I'm going to be honest with you. When we went to the Chargers facility, I know you weren't there, but in the practice field, I was just looking at CJ Okoye doing some defensive line drills with Ben Herbert. He was big, but he also stood out to me as having really, really quick feet. Braden Fisk is a guy that has that similar kind of athleticism. I think if CJ Okoye can develop with this coaching staff that everyone is banking on being good at developing football players, I think you can maybe get something similar to what Braden Fisk would give you with CJ Okoye. So I would rather go center right here with Zach Frazier. Oh, looks like the director dropped out. Let me get him back in here.
There we go.
There we go. Back. Okay. Oh my gosh. So I just said I would rather take Zach Frazier because I have a guy that I think could develop at the defensive line position, but also we need a center for Justin Herbert more than we need a defensive lineman.
And we got Poona Ford.
We do.
Yeah, Poona Ford is going to be able to lend a hand this season.
So let's take Zach Frazier here, pick 37. A lot of value in those first few picks. 2nd round, or 3rd round rather, with the Chargers. And these linebackers are both still here again.
We talked a lot about how linebacker is one of the most underrated positions in the Jesse Minter defense, even in the Ravens defense, right? You're going to see them invest in guys like Roquan. You're going to see them draft high for guys like Patrick Queen. It's a pretty big part of that defense. Again, I don't see Edgerrin Cooper available here. I do see Colson available here.
You know what's interesting?
One of those, I think, honestly, would be very solid value for round 3.
Brandon Dorless is here as well.
Dorless is another one of those guys. 3rd round guy that would be he's crazy quick to the quarterback.
And he has that positional versatility. You can play him on 3, 5, 7 tech. You played him all over the defensive line at Oregon. I think this is a guy, positional versatility. But do they want him on the interior?
He's fast. He's fast. He's fast.
What are you thinking? You would take a linebacker, or are you taking the interior defensive lineman?
My gut still says linebacker. I think those specific talents too. I think one of those guys could lead our defense.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a guy. And as much as I love Dan Henley and as much as I think he'll be an impact, I think it's too big of a risk not to get a talent that you're comfortable or at least confident in to be a leader at that position. So one of those I think would still be my pick, but Dorless is certainly on the table. If Sweat didn't have the thing that just happened, he'd be on the table for sure. But I don't know if you can miss with any of those guys.
I think the familiarity that Junior Colson has with Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter, and he's young. I think he's 20, or is he 21? He's 21 years old. He's got a great story. He's from Haiti. He has not been playing football for long, but he understands the game at a high level. I would love Junior Colson here. So with that double trade, basically a 3-team trade, we ended up with 11 and 35 for the 5th pick. And we got 2 premier positions again. We got CB1 and we got wide receiver 4 or 5, 6, however you want to put it up. Zach Frazier and Junior Colson. So
yeah,
I
that's
love
a solid draft. I like that one.
Now this last trade scenario, this is a little funky, so stay with me. The Bills, they're trading up for a wide receiver, man. They like Malik Neighbors a lot. They just lost Stephon Diggs. There's a lot of wide receiver movement in the NFL. Stuff like this happens all the time. Look back to Justin Jefferson, Treylon Burks. Same kind of scenario right here. And so we're getting 28 and 60. That is their first and second. We're moving back a lot. So I want to take both of those round 2 picks that you got next year, buddy. You think that's good value?
It is. It makes sense on the trade value chart. Oh man. I wouldn't do it, but it lines up. It lines up. We're moving down quite a bit.
We're moving down a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit in this one.
And we still have some good players here. Johnny Newton is here.
I think I would be going Johnny Newton here because we can grab a receiver.
Okay.
In the second round, but Johnny Newton, just like the Byron Murphy pick, Johnny Newton is a great value this late in the first round specifically. Like if you're looking for. Because again, when you trade down, you need to find value. That's kind of the whole point. You want to make sure that extra pick and where you're selecting bring maximum value. That's kind of the whole point of trading down. Johnny Newton to me at 24, what is it, 28?
28.
That's crazy. I think he would be the pick for me. Even Kool-Aid is not bad at this spot, but
that's who I was going to talk about, because Kool-Aid is tempting to me because it's a need and it also is a higher positional value spot. But how many times have we seen with the Ravens where there's a guy like Jer'Zhan Newton that just falls down the board and they're the team that takes that guy that's falling no matter what? And I think in this scenario, for the sake of realism, I think Johnny Newton would be the pick if they do trade down to 28 and he's still there.
Yeah, you would get that value. You'd get the extra picks this year, next year. I think that's something that, because you're going to see that. You're going to see every single pick. There's going to be, oh my God, I can't believe he's still on the board. The Ravens have been notorious for taking advantage of that. I think the Chargers were going to start adopting the same mindset.
Look at this beautiful draft.
No way, dude. Kool-Aid still on the board. It's got to be Kool-Aid.
It's got to be Kool-Aid. TJ Tampa was the only cornerback that went between these 2 picks right here. So we're going to run this pick up. Kool-Aid McKinstry is our second round pick. I don't think he fell in any of those other drafts, by the way. That was the only one that he was there. Now at pick 60.
Braden Fisk.
Braden Fisk is there. Whoa, okay. Ricky Pearsall, though.
Pearsall's there too. Like,
I like Ricky.
Man, rock and roll. I guess we don't really see this pick often because there's not a lot of trade downs in this position. But there's some dogs, man.
I like Ricky Pearsall. I like Chris Jenkins, and I like Braden Fisk. But obviously, we hit interior defensive line with a really good player, BPA. Yeah. I think Ricky Pearsall fits with best player available. Also,
after what? It's McMilan. I think Pearsall is.
Let's look at the wide receivers. Yeah, McMilan. Tez Walker, who the Senior Bowl was pretty concerning to me. I like Ricky Pearsall a lot, and I think after him, there's a bit of a drop-off. I would have liked Jalen Polk, who went 1 pick before us. We're going to take Ricky Pearsall, though. I'm fine with Ricky. Now here we are with
Polk is a big target for me if we trade down that way, too. Like, Polk would be...
Oh, yeah.
He'd be an awesome answer to... Mike Williams.
Oh, for sure. Going from Mike to him.
Yeah.
Now here we are. Pick 69 in the third round. I think this is our last pick. It is. So, Kyrie Jackson is here. Junior Colson, that linebacker that we like. We could also go for running back. Ooh. Offensive lineman Blake Fisher, too.
Now, real quick, we don't need him right now, but this is something that I haven't even talked about in my own channel yet. There is a concern around T'Vondre Sweat. There is. And normally, 10 out of 10 times the past 10 years or whatever, it's just like you brush it off. It's like, that's too bad. He's not even on our board anymore. Do you think the Chargers would in any way change that philosophy under Harbaugh? More of an adopt and bring back up kind of thing? Or do you think it even in this regimen, it's more of a, well, it doesn't fit our culture. It doesn't fit our locker room. It's a pass.
I was planning on making a video about this. So I'm glad you brought this up because I think they would. I think they would take chances on guys like that because also something that Andy Bischoff said in his interview was he wanted vicious players. Vicious. Jim Harbaugh said, hey, bad intentions work on the football field. I mean, you just kind of look in between the lines and they have a culture where, they place such a huge emphasis on team and, get in this culture. We're going to bring everybody up. You know what I mean? I think they would bank on their culture, getting those guys in there and they would be, straight shooters. That's what they want.
I think I say that because we've seen the Ravens in particular taking shots on players like that in the past. And that could be, whether you agree with it or not, it could be a new philosophy for the Chargers. So again, we don't need them in this draft, but it's something that I think about frequently. I'm like, is the culture going to shift in a way where we're looking to bring up, players like this instead of avoiding them completely? So Anyway, just something to think about.
I like.
What do you think of Braylon Trice?
I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I don't know. Would you?
It's weird that the Chargers are looking at it so thoroughly because they are.
I know.
Like edge has been such a huge point of emphasis for their top 30 visits. And it would be a great future proofing move. But again, if it were me with this pick, who do we take? Would we take an offensive lineman yet? Because I like.
No, we didn't. That's what I was going back and looking at because I was looking at Blake Fisher.
Blake Fisher was catching my eye too. I think he'll be a very strong. Where are we now? The third round? Yeah, he would be a good pick here. All
right. Let me just make sure I'm feeling good about this. You're not tempted by a quarterback, are you?
No, man, it's Spencer Rattler though, bro. Think of the potential.
Let's do it. Let's take Spencer Rattler.
Blake Fisher's the move. I like him.
Was that the last pick? It was. Okay. So let's look at this mock draft.
That's solid.
Big trade down, huge trade down. And we only have these 4 picks. We got 2 second rounders in the next year's draft, but we addressed the interior. We addressed the outside as well, the boundary on defense. And then on offense, we addressed the offensive line and wide receiver, 2 premier positions right there in the second and third round.
I do have to be honest though. If it weren't for the value on Johnny Newton and it weren't for the 2 second round picks next season, I would be screaming in my mind that we passed up on a top 3 receiver.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows what the new front office is looking to do for the future? So it could happen.
This would be a big, bold move. So let's look at these drafts with the Vikings. This trade down, 11 and 23. This is what it's looking like. I like this one a lot. The Vikings trade down, probably my favorite option. But then you look at the Giants trade down. If the Giants want to trade up, this is a crazy good value deal. We get an extra 4th and a 6th, and we get our guy anyway.
Yeah. And again, even if that's neighbors, that's so solid.
Yeah.
So solid.
Whoever your wide receiver 1 is right here, put him in there. And I still love it. And then in this draft, least likely, but I do like Byron Murphy a lot. And then we also double dipped on the interior, offense and defense. Push wide receiver a little bit too far, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. There's also the option of Chargers trading up with one of those fourth round picks to get a better talent at wide receiver. I've thought about that a little bit, but McMilan would be serviceable.
Now, this one is the crazy one. 3-team trade. Cardinals trade down from 4 with the Vikings, and then they trade up to our spot to get their guy, and we get 11 and 35. So we got Quinyon Mitchell and Adonai Mitchell. We got both Mitchells here. And then we got Zach Frazier, who we also got in this draft. And then we also got Junior Colson. This is another one that I like a lot because we're addressing those premier positions early.
And it's good value. It's good value for specifically the players that we got as well. It's pretty good value.
Yeah.
I mean, Mitchell in the second round is stupid. And I also saw McConkey there too. Either one would have been awesome.
Yeah. And this one could even be like the 23rd pick. Like if Adonai Mitchell was the pick at 23 and it was the Vikings trade for 11 and 23, this would still be a great draft. So the value at 35, really, really good.
The Cardinals would make draft day 2, with Kevin Costner. So, revolved around that trade scenario. That would be a masterful move by Arizona.
And now the last one with the Buffalo Bills. They're trading up for their wide receiver. Who did they take? They take Malik Neighbors. They took Rome Odunze over Malik Neighbors.
You never know.
All power to him. Okay. And then we got Jer'Zhan Newton, Kool-Aid McKinstry as well, and then Ricky Pearsall and Blake Fisher.
That's solid.
It's solid. There's nothing that really... This one doesn't excite me like these other ones. Like, not that one. This one excites me a lot. This Cardinals trade down. And then this one excites me too, but this one really excites me as well.
I think for the most part, most of the trade down scenarios that involve the Vikings have made me the most open to the idea of trading down at all. Because I'm going to be very stubborn. Like one of the first questions I asked everybody when we were at the facility was, would you trade down? And I would point, and I would just quick yes or no answer. And the room was I would say like, I don't know, 75, 60% no. It was kind of split. You know what I mean? I'm one of those guys that'll be very hard to convince to trade down if Marvin or Neighbors are still on the board. But a return like that, you could convince me.
Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Go and like and subscribe to the Director's channel if you haven't already. You probably have, because he's the best Chargers YouTuber. But if you haven't, I'll put his account or his channel in the description. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.